Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Welcome to this session on an introduction to the Rotterdam Convention Compliance Committee. On behalf of the Secretariat of the Rotterdam Convention, we will be presenting the information on the Compliance Committee. The content of this presentation includes a brief introduction, and then we will follow with a presentation by the Secretariat and sharing some experiences in the work of the committee. And we finalize with some time allocated for questions and answers. Now, just to give you some background information about the Rotterdam Convention compliance, we will be looking at some of the history of compliance under the convention. Then we will introduce some of the key elements of the work of the Compliance Committee and how it addresses specific submissions from individual parties, as well as systemic issues of general compliance that apply to all parties. And then we will look at how the committee and its work can help parties. The legal basis of the Compliance Committee is included in Article of Compliance on the Convention is included in Article 17 of the Convention, of the text of the Rotterdam Convention. And the issue of compliance was discussed at all meetings of the Conference of the Parties until the adoption of the procedures and mechanisms of compliance with the Rotterdam Convention at the 9th meeting of the Conference of the Parties in 2019. This is now what is included in Annex VII in the text of the Convention. The committee is formed by 15 members, which are elected by the Conference of the Parties with equitable geographical representation of 5 UN regions that have expertise and specific qualifications in Rotterdam Convention matters. The committee has a chair, a vice chair, and a rapporteur that are elected by the members of the committee. The committee meetings are open to parties and the public, unless decided otherwise by the committee. And as a general rule, the committee meets once every 2 years, depending on the budget allocated by the Conference of the Parties, and whenever necessary and wherever possible, in conjunction with meetings of the Conference of the Parties or other convention bodies. The first meeting of the Compliance Committee took place in Geneva in November 2022, and the outcomes and information related to that meeting are available on the Convention's website. And then we look at how may the committee assist individual parties. The committee has a double mandate, that is to deal with submissions relevant to the compliance of an individual party, and there the committee may assist individual parties in resolving compliance difficulties on receipt of a valid submission, as indicated in paras 12 and 13 of Annex VII. There are submissions coming directly from a party or party-to-party submissions. Also, the committee can review systemic issues of general compliance, where the committee's work can be initiated on request from the Conference of the Parties, or if the committee decides, based on information from parties obtained by the Secretariat and submitted to the committee, that there is a need to examine the issue and report on it to the Conference of the Parties. Some of the difficulties that are faced by parties may be with specific obligations to transmit information on the designation of national authorities, on final regulatory actions, or PIMPO responses. Until now, no specific submissions have been received by the committee through the Secretariat. And now I hand this over to my colleague Yvonne to continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mario. And from my side, greetings to all who are listening to this webinar. So in terms of the possible routes that could be taken and how the specific submissions flow, it's a process that is set out in the Annex VII, and the steps to be followed would depend on whether the submission is made by a party regarding its own compliance with certain obligations, whether it's made by a party that is directly affected by or likely to be directly affected by another party's failure to comply, so party-to-party submission, or whether it is the submission by the committee in relation to information received from a party about challenges with those certain obligations. So there is a process for allowing for a consultation with the party if it is a party-to-party submission or a committee submission, and there is also a dialogue with the party concerned to try and identify the causes for the matter of concern. And if the matter remains unresolved as set out by Annex VII, then that flows into consideration of the matter by the committee at its meeting. It's also important to remember that throughout the procedures, the party is invited to take an active role and to communicate with the committee. So there can be information transmitted by the party concerned to members of the committee, and that is taken into account when the committee considers the submission. There is a facilitation procedure, and that can lead to either advice, non-binding recommendations, or further information to assist the party in developing a compliance plan, so setting out what would be needed, including timelines and targets to return into compliance with that obligation. And once that facilitation procedure has been exhausted, there is a possibility for the committee to make a report to the Conference of the Parties with a recommendation of further measures. However, as Mario mentioned just now, there has been neither a specific submission made to the committee to date, nor use of either the facilitation procedure or any recommendations to the COP. So who can make a submission to the committee? The submission may be made by the party itself, by a party that is directly affected or likely to be so affected, or by the committee on receipt of information from the Secretariat, but provided by parties. So parties really are the key and the heart to all of the procedures related to the Compliance Committee. Annex VII sets out as well the content and the form of the submissions, and in terms of the format, that is still a question that is being looked at by the committee as to whether it would help parties to have some kind of a format for providing those submissions. So in terms of facilitating that process, a question to watch this space for further developments on the website. As was mentioned in terms of the meetings, as well as the preparations when it comes to the specific submissions, there is provision for parties to participate in the proceedings. So the intention would be that those proceedings are as transparent as possible, and that the party that is concerned by a matter that is being considered by the committee has the right to participate in those proceedings. How does the committee look at specific submissions? It tries to establish what are the facts and the root causes of the matter of concern. And this is not just a question of the committee working in isolation. It also assists taking into account what technical assistance is available. So taking into account the fact that there could be further causes or further concerns that provide the party with what it needs to, for example, transmit a notification of final regulatory action, or to raise awareness to designate its contacts. So the committee really does try and look at all the actions and all the avenues that are available in order to assist the party with coming back into compliance. The information available to the committee is information that is provided by parties. So Annex 7 is very clear as to what the committee can look into in terms of information. And there is this facilitation procedure before moving to recommendations to the COP. So it really is a stepwise approach, providing all the assistance that is available at each stage, and trying as much as possible to facilitate, to work with the party, to identify what the challenges are, and to support that party with meeting its obligations under the convention. As Mario mentioned, there is also a general mandate, so the other side of the coin, but again, still providing assistance to parties. The general mandate looks at systemic issues of general compliance of interest to all parties. So not just looking at a question or actions that are taken by an individual party. It is set out in paragraph 25 of Annex 7, and it can be initiated in one of two ways. So either the Conference of the Parties requests the committee to look at a specific issue, so that can be within its program of work, as is currently the case. There is a program of work for the biennium 2022 into 2023, as well as activities planned for 2024 into 2025, that way mandating the committee on the work that it's to undertake within the period between two meetings of the COP. However, the general mandate can also be initiated by the committee based on information from parties. And when it's seen, the committee decides that there is a need for the issue to be examined, and it makes a report to the COP. So there is a very clear relationship between the committee and the COP, and the committee constantly communicates with the COP to inform as to what it's doing and to report on its activities. Here you have just an example of the current program of work and some of the issues that the committee has been requested to look at by the Conference of the Parties. So that includes, for example, monitoring laws, regulations, policies, procedures, and other measures adopted to implement the convention. There was also a questionnaire that went out to all parties on notification of final regulatory actions. There were activities that were undertaken in terms of import responses, as well as information exchange. So there is quite a variety of activities that are addressed by the committee with the aim of trying to assist parties again. So the committee considers the information that Annex 7 sets out for it. So here we're looking at, for example, information received through the Secretariat from parties, from relevant sources, with the prior consent of the party concerned. Information can also be received through the Convention's clearinghouse mechanism, and relevant intergovernmental organizations. So there are a number of different sources of information that can be considered in that respect. The committee considers the matter, so this issue that is a concern for all parties. There are consultations, information gathering, and the committee uses that as a basis to develop any conclusions or recommendations as it sees fit. And there is this periodic and regular reporting to the COPs on both the work undertaken, any conclusions or recommendations, as well as a draft future work program. So in 2023, for example, there was a draft work program that was presented to the 11th meeting of the Conference of the Parties, and that was approved. So the committee certainly touches base on a regular frequently with the Conference of the Parties. So to give a concrete example, looking at this questionnaire that was sent out, there was a deadline for 30th of June, and the information was circulated both to OCPs with the access details, so official contact points, but also to designated national authorities to encourage communication between those who were involved in implementation of the convention at the national level. So we had been planning for some experiences from within the committee, but what we would suggest is that there is regular information available on the committee website on PIC.int. There is a section under the convention that is regularly updated with information, and we would invite anyone who is interested to please take a look at that section of the website for further developments. And with that, we thank you, and the Secretariat as well as the committee remains available to assist further as may be needed. Thank you.